Earth's desperate plan. Earth was a forgotten planet, dismissed as unimportant by the mighty Galactic Empire. Their official records marked Earth as too primitive, not worth the effort. This insult, broadcast across the galaxy, reached every human on the planet. While most felt humiliated, the world's leaders saw an opportunity. If Earth remained beneath the Empire's notice, they could prepare for the day when they were no longer ignored. In a hidden facility buried deep under the Rocky Mountains, the best minds on Earth worked in secret. Engineers, scientists, and strategists collaborated on a single goal: creating a weapon that could protect humanity from the Empire's inevitable wrath. They called it Prototype Alpha, a warship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Prototype Alpha was equipped with experimental plasma weapons, advanced stealth technology, and an artificial intelligence system capable of adapting to any situation. It had taken decades to develop, with resources funneled from every corner of the planet. For Earth, this was not just a weapon. It was their only hope. But time was running out. The Galactic Empire, despite ignoring Earth, maintained regular scout fleets to monitor the planet's progress. These small ships, equipped with advanced sensors, could detect any technological developments that might make Earth a threat. For years, Earth had carefully hidden its progress, disguising weapons research as harmless civilian projects. But this time, their luck ran out. A new scout fleet arrived in Earth's orbit without warning. Unlike previous visits, this fleet did not send a diplomatic message. Instead, they issued an ultimatum. Earth had 10 hours to surrender all military secrets or face complete annihilation. The message was clear. Someone in the Empire had noticed Earth's progress, and now they wanted to crush it. The world's leaders gathered in a high-security bunker to discuss their options. The room was filled with tension as the President of the United Nations addressed the group. "Let's be honest," she began, her voice steady but grim. "We can't negotiate with them. Surrender means slavery, and resistance means war. The question is, are we ready to fight?" A long silence followed. Then Dr. Elena Reyes, the chief scientist behind Prototype Alpha, stood up. "We are as ready as we'll ever be," she said. "But deploying the prototype comes with risks. Its systems are untested in combat, and if the Empire detects it, they'll send their full fleet. This isn't just about winning one battle. It's about staying hidden while striking back." Her words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of their implications. If they failed, Earth would face extinction. But doing nothing guaranteed the same outcome. Finally, General Malik, the head of Earth's newly formed Space Defense Force, spoke. "We don't have a choice," he said firmly. "We deploy the prototype. It's our only chance to buy time and show the Empire that Earth isn't a planet to ignore." The decision was made. In the dead of night, Prototype Alpha launched from its underground hangar. Its sleek, black hull reflected no light as it ascended into the atmosphere, completely invisible to both human eyes and alien sensors. On board, the ship's AI, codenamed Athena, activated for the first time. Mission parameters received. Athena's voice echoed through the empty cockpit. Primary objective: neutralize hostile fleet without detection. Secondary objective: protect Earth at all costs. As Prototype Alpha approached the scout fleet, the humans monitoring the mission from Earth held their breath. The alien ships hovered in orbit like giant metallic predators, their energy weapons glowing ominously. Earth's defense systems were no match for such advanced technology. If Prototype Alpha failed, there would be no second chance. Athena calculated the best course of action. The ship's plasma cannons locked onto the nearest enemy vessel. With a silent pulse, the weapon fired. The plasma bolt hit its target, and the alien ship exploded into a brilliant burst of light. The remaining scout ships immediately went on high alert, scanning for the source of the attack. But Prototype Alpha was already on the move. Using its advanced stealth systems, the prototype darted between the enemy ships, firing precise shots that disabled their engines and weapons. One by one, the alien vessels fell, unable to locate the invisible attacker. On Earth, the command center erupted in cautious cheers. It seemed the prototype was working as intended. But then, something unexpected happened. The last remaining alien ship began transmitting a distress signal. Prototype Alpha sensors detected it too late. The message was already on its way to the Empire. Earth's secret was out. Back at the command center, Dr. Rice slammed her fist on the table. "They know," she said, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and anger. "The Empire knows we're a threat now." General Malik stood tall, his expression hardened. "Then we'll give them a fight they'll never forget." As Prototype Alpha returned to Earth, the leaders prepared for what was to come. The Galactic Empire would no longer ignore Earth, but this time, humanity was ready to show the galaxy what they were capable of. And so, Earth's desperate plan began to unfold. First strike. The Galactic Empire was not known for patience. Within hours of receiving the distress signal from the obliterated scout fleet, they mobilized a larger force. A squadron of 10 Imperial cruisers, sleek and massive, departed from a nearby sector with one mission: uncover the source of Earth's sudden power and destroy it. On Earth, the victory over the scout fleet was short-lived. In the underground command center, tension filled the air as surveillance detected the incoming squadron. Dr. Rice scanned the live feed, her eyes narrowing as the ships drew closer. "They're not here to talk," she said, her voice cold. "Good," General Malik replied. "Neither are we." But beneath his hardened exterior, Malik knew they were in uncharted waters. The scout fleet had been caught off guard, their ships small and vulnerable. The cruisers, however, were a different beast entirely. They were equipped with layered shields, advanced countermeasures, and enough firepower to vaporize cities. Worse, the Empire likely suspected Earth's newfound weapon, making stealth attacks far riskier. Despite the odds, Prototype Alpha prepared for battle. Athena, the ship's AI, ran countless simulations in mere seconds, adjusting for every possibility. "Enemy fleet detected," she reported calmly. "Probability of mission success, 62%. Recommendation: initiate attack sequence Alpha 3. In the control room, Dr. Rice frowned. 62% isn't good enough. General Malik leaned over the console, his jaw clenched. "It's better than 0. We have no choice. If those cruisers reach orbit, Earth is finished." As the Imperial cruisers entered Earth's orbit, they activated a wide-range scan. On board the lead cruiser, an alien commander with 4 glowing eyes and a voice like grinding metal barked orders. "Find their weapon. Annihilate it." The cruisers released hundreds of tiny drones, each programmed to detect energy signatures or hidden weapons. Prototype Alpha, cloaked in its advanced stealth field, floated just beyond their reach, like a predator waiting to strike. Athena's voice broke the silence. "Enemy drones detected. Probability of stealth compromise, 85% within 5 minutes. Engage now," General Malik ordered from the command center. With precision that only an advanced AI could achieve, Prototype Alpha moved into position. Its plasma cannons charged silently, their energy barely rippling through the vacuum of space. The first shot hit one of the cruisers squarely in its engines. The explosion lit up the darkness, sending debris spiraling. The fleet reacted instantly. Defensive shields activated, forming glowing barriers around the remaining ships. The alien commander snarled, slamming his fist into a console. "Find that attacker. It cannot hide forever." But Athena was already 2 steps ahead. Prototype Alpha darted between the cruisers, firing concentrated plasma bolts that bypassed weaker points in their shields. 2 more cruisers were disabled in quick succession, their massive forms drifting lifelessly in space. The remaining ships adjusted their formation, creating a tight defensive grid. Back on Earth, cheers erupted in the command center. But Dr. Rice remained tense, her fingers gripping the edge of the console. "They're adapting," she said. "They're not going to make this easy." Her words proved true. The alien commander issued new orders, and the cruisers began releasing EMP charges designed to disrupt any cloaked ships in the area. Prototype Alpha systems flickered momentarily, forcing Athena to reroute power to maintain stealth. EMP proximity increasing, Athena warned. Cloaking field at 70% efficiency. Dr. Rice's voice cut through the comms. Switch to manual mode. Engage disruptor decoys. Prototype Alpha launched a series of small devices, each emitting false energy signatures. The decoys confused the drones and scanners, buying precious seconds. Using the distraction, the ship repositioned for its next strike. But the Empire was relentless. One of the drones caught a fleeting energy ripple from the prototype. It relayed the coordinates to the fleet, and within moments, a barrage of energy beams lit up space, narrowly missing the ship. Stealth compromised, Athena announced, executing evasive maneuvers. In the command center, General Malik's face hardened. They've spotted us. Can the prototype take them head-on? Dr. Rice hesitated. Not all of them. But if Athena can isolate their lead ship, we might stand a chance. Malik nodded. Do it. Prototype Alpha surged forward, its plasma cannons firing relentlessly. The lead cruiser, larger and more heavily armed than the others, turned its full attention to the attacker. The alien commander smirked, convinced the primitive Earth ship was no match. Focus fire, he ordered. End this nuisance. But the commander underestimated Earth's creation. Prototype Alpha's agility was unmatched, weaving through the barrage of energy beams. The ship's plasma cannons targeted weak points in the cruiser's armor, creating cracks in its defenses. Finally, Athena activated a new weapon, the disruptor pulse. A concentrated wave of energy blasted from the prototype, short-circuiting the lead cruiser's shields and weapon systems. The massive ship faltered, its lights flickering as its systems failed. In a final, desperate move, Prototype Alpha fired a plasma burst directly into the cruiser's bridge. The ship erupted in a fiery explosion, taking the alien commander and his crew with it. The remaining cruisers hesitated. With their leader destroyed, they faltered, unsure of their next move. Prototype Alpha, though battered, cloaked itself once more and disappeared into the void. Earth's victory was far from complete. The Empire would not let this stand. But for now, they had sent a message. Earth was no longer a helpless, ignored planet. It was a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy had taken notice. Empire learns the truth. In the Galactic Empire's central command station, a vast and imposing structure orbiting the Imperial homeworld, news of the defeat reached the High Council. For centuries, no backwater planet had dared to challenge their might, let alone destroy their cruisers. The reports were baffling. A primitive species, once deemed irrelevant, had wiped out 2 fleets with technology that should have been decades, if not centuries, beyond their grasp. Seated at the head of the council chamber, the supreme strategist, a cold and calculating alien with pale, luminescent skin, reviewed the footage transmitted from the battle. The images were fragmented, showing flashes of plasma fire and the devastating effects of an unseen attacker. This anomaly, the strategist hissed, her voice resonating through the chamber, must be investigated. If Earth has allies supplying them with weapons, we need to uncover them. If they've developed this on their own, we need to crush them before they rise further. The council murmured in agreement, their voices a mix of disdain and concern. The strategist turned to her intelligence chief. Send an inquisitor, she commanded. Someone who can infiltrate their defenses and uncover the truth. Meanwhile, on Earth, the victory celebrations were muted by an undeniable fact. The Empire now knew Earth was a threat. In the underground command center, Dr. Rice, General Malik, and other key leaders were locked in an intense debate about their next move. We've shown we can fight, Malik said, his voice firm. Now we need to prepare for the counterattack. The Empire won't take this lightly. Dr. Rice, pacing the room, countered. We're not ready for a full-scale invasion. Prototype Alpha barely survived the last battle. If they send their full fleet, we're finished. A junior officer interrupted, his voice nervous. We've detected a small ship entering our atmosphere. It's not part of a fleet. It's alone. The room fell silent. A lone ship. That didn't match the Empire's usual tactics. Malik frowned, his instincts on high alert. Track it, he ordered. Do not engage unless necessary. The alien infiltrator landed on the outskirts of an abandoned industrial zone, in a craft barely larger than a fighter jet. Clad in adaptive armor that shifted colors to blend into the surroundings, the Inquisitor emerged from the ship. Their body was tall and lithe, their features hidden beneath a reflective helmet. They carried no visible weapons, only a small device capable of hacking into Earth's communication systems. Primitive, the Inquisitor muttered, scanning the area with a wrist-mounted display. Yet resourceful. Their mission was clear: gather intelligence on Earth's secret weapon and sabotage it from within. The Inquisitor moved swiftly through the shadows, their steps silent and deliberate. In the command center, Athena, Prototype Alpha's AI, detected unusual activity. Unauthorized signal detected in Sector 12, Athena announced. Analyzing pattern. Signal consistent with Imperial infiltration protocols. Dr. Ray stiffened. They've sent someone. A spy. Malik slammed his fist on the table. We can't let them get close to the prototype. Lock down the facility. Mobilize the security team. But Athena interjected. Infiltrators' presence confirmed near civilian infrastructure. Direct engagement risks exposure of prototype operations. Rise exchanged a look with Malik. If we attack in the open, the Empire will know exactly where to look, she said. We need to be smart about this. The Inquisitor was making progress. They had tapped into Earth's communication grid, intercepting coded transmissions about Prototype Alpha. The data was fragmented, but it was enough to piece together a troubling picture. Earth had developed a weapon capable of challenging even the Empire's advanced fleet. Before they could transmit their findings, however, a low hum filled the air. The Inquisitor turned, their scanner detecting an incoming drone swarm. Earth's defense forces had deployed automated units to neutralize the intruder. The Inquisitor acted quickly, releasing an electromagnetic pulse that disabled the drones mid-flight. But the attack had revealed their location. Within moments, Earth's security forces converged on the area, armed and ready. In the shadows of the industrial zone, a deadly game of cat and mouse unfolded. The Inquisitor used their advanced tech to outmaneuver Earth's soldiers, disabling their weapons and evading their traps. But every move they made was being monitored by Athena, who was feeding real-time intelligence to the ground team. They're not trying to escape, Athena noted. Their movements suggest they're searching for something. Dr. Rice's voice crackled through the comms. They're after the prototype. Do not let them get close. The Inquisitor finally reached a secured access point, leading to one of Earth's hidden research facilities. They began hacking into the system, their device bypassing the primitive encryption with ease. But just as the door slid open, an unexpected voice echoed in their helmet. Intruder detected, Athena's voice announced. You're trespassing in restricted territory. Surrender immediately. The Inquisitor froze for a moment, surprised. An AI, they muttered. Interesting. Let's see how smart you really are. They initiated a counter-hack, attempting to breach Athena's systems, but the AI was prepared. As the Inquisitor's device connected, Athena flooded it with false data, overwhelming the system and causing it to overheat. The Inquisitor barely managed to eject the device before it exploded. Frustrated but undeterred, they switched tactics, preparing to physically infiltrate the facility. Back in the command center, Dr. Rice watched the situation unfold on the monitors. They're not stopping, she said, her voice grim. If they get inside, they'll learn everything. General Malik's face was set in determination. Then we make sure they don't leave. As Earth's forces closed in, the Inquisitor realized they were running out of time. But before they could retreat, a new threat emerged. Prototype Alpha itself, now deployed to neutralize the infiltrator. The Inquisitors stared at the massive warship hovering above them, its plasma cannons glowing ominously. For the first time, they felt a twinge of unease. This was no primitive weapon. This was something else entirely. "Interesting," they said quietly. "Very interesting." The battle for Earth's secrets had only just begun. Empire strikes back. The Galactic Empire's patience had worn thin. Reports of the Inquisitors' failure to extract Earth's secrets had reached the High Council, and the news was met with fury. Earth, once considered insignificant, had now humiliated the Empire twice. This affront could not go unanswered. The Supreme Strategist addressed the Council, her voice cold and resolute. "Enough games. If Earth wishes to challenge the Empire, we shall respond in kind. Mobilize the Vanguard fleet. Leave nothing behind." The Vanguard fleet, a colossal armada of over 50 warships, was infamous across the galaxy. It had crushed entire civilizations, reducing thriving worlds to barren wastelands. At its center was the dreadnought Terminus Rex, a ship so vast it blocked out stars. Its purpose was not just to defeat enemies but to erase them from existence. On Earth, the underground command center buzzed with activity. Satellite scans confirmed the Empire's fleet was mobilizing, their trajectory locked on Earth. General Malik stood at the center of the room, his face a mask of grim determination. "How long until they reach us?" he asked. Dr. Rice adjusted her glasses, her tone sharp. 48 hours. If the Vanguard fleet arrives, we won't stand a chance." The tension in the room was palpable. Earth's defenses were meager compared to what was coming. Even Prototype Alpha, their most advanced weapon, was no match for an armada of this size. "We have one option," Malik said finally. "We take the fight to them." The room fell silent. Dr. Rice frowned. "You're suggesting we go into space, face them head-on. That's suicide." "No," Malik replied, his voice steady. "It's strategy. If we wait for them to reach us, they'll bombard Earth from orbit. But if we intercept them in open space, we might have a chance to split their forces. Prototype Alpha's stealth and speed are our only advantages." As preparations began, Prototype Alpha underwent critical upgrades. Athena, the ship's AI, monitored the engineers as they worked tirelessly to enhance the ship's plasma cannons and reinforce its stealth systems. Meanwhile, a newly developed EMP disruptor was installed, a weapon capable of temporarily disabling the electronics of nearby ships. Athena's voice echoed in the hangar. Mission parameters updated. Primary objective: delay the Vanguard fleet. Secondary objective: protect Earth at all costs. Dr. Rice approached the prototype, her hands trembling slightly. "Athena, you're about to face the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Are you ready for this?" The AI's response was calm. "Probability of success is low, but acceptable under current circumstances. Mission will proceed." Dr. Rice sighed. "That's not exactly comforting." 40 hours later, Prototype Alpha launched into space, accompanied by a small escort fleet of Earth's hastily retrofitted satellites and drones. It was a patchwork armada, a desperate attempt to hold back the inevitable. General Malik watched from the command center, his fingers gripping the edge of the console. "Stay sharp," he said into the comms. "Every second you buy us is another second Earth can prepare." As Prototype Alpha neared the edge of the solar system, it detected the Vanguard fleet. The sheer size of the armada was staggering, rows upon rows of battleships, flanked by fighter squadrons and support vessels. At the center loomed the Terminus Rex, its massive silhouette casting an ominous shadow. Athena immediately began analyzing the enemy formation. Enemy fleet detected. Engaging strategy Alpha 7. Deploying decoys. Prototype Alpha released a swarm of decoy drones, each emitting false energy signatures. The Vanguard fleet, momentarily confused, scattered their fighter squadrons to investigate. Using this distraction, the prototype fired its upgraded plasma cannons, targeting the engines of two smaller frigates. The ships exploded in a chain reaction, their debris scattering into space. The Empire responded with ruthless efficiency. Dozens of fighters converged on Prototype Alpha's position, their energy weapons lighting up the void. Athena executed a series of evasive maneuvers, weaving through the chaos with surgical precision. The drones and satellites fought valiantly, but were no match for the Empire's advanced firepower. One by one, they were destroyed, leaving Prototype Alpha alone against the fleet. Back on Earth, the command center monitored the battle in stunned silence. Malik's voice broke through the tension. "Reyes, tell me you have something. Anything." Dr. Reyes hesitated before replying. "We have one last trick. The gravitational disruptor." Malik turned to her, his eyes narrowing. "That thing is unstable. If we use it, we risk tearing a hole in space-time. And if we don't use it, we risk extinction." Reyes shot back. "It's a gamble either way." Malik nodded grimly. "Do it." Athena received the command to activate the gravitational disruptor, a device capable of creating localized wormholes. As the Vanguard fleet closed in, the prototype deployed the weapon. A swirling vortex of energy erupted in the midst of the Imperial ships, pulling several of them into its gravitational field. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Ships twisted and bent as they were dragged into the vortex, their forms disappearing into the void. For a moment, it seemed the tide of the battle had turned. But then the Terminus Rex entered the fray. The dreadnought unleashed a barrage of antimatter missiles, their explosions shaking the prototype's shields to the brink of collapse. Athena calculated the odds and made a bold decision. Executing Evasive Protocol Gamma 4, the AI announced. The prototype accelerated toward the dreadnought, weaving through the chaos as it prepared for a direct assault. On board the Terminus Rex, the fleet commander sneered, "Foolish humans. Their desperation is their undoing." But as Prototype Alpha closed in, it launched its EMP disruptor. A wave of energy surged through the dreadnought, temporarily disabling its shields and weapons. Taking advantage of the opening, the prototype fired a concentrated plasma beam at the ship's reactor core. The explosion was immense, lighting up the void of space like a second sun. The dreadnought was damaged, but not destroyed. Prototype Alpha, however, was forced to retreat, its systems critically damaged. The battle was far from over, but Earth had bought itself precious time. The Vanguard fleet, though still operational, had been dealt a significant blow. As Prototype Alpha limped back toward Earth, its crew knew the fight ahead would only grow harder. The Empire would not stop until Earth was erased from the stars. But humanity, battered and bruised, was determined to stand their ground. The prototype's hidden power. The aftermath of the battle left Earth in uneasy silence. The Vanguard fleet, though temporarily slowed, was regathering its forces. The Empire's dreadnought, Terminus Rex, had been damaged but not destroyed, and its terrifying presence loomed closer with every passing hour. In the underground command center, tensions were at an all-time high. Screens flickered with live feeds of Earth's hastily assembled defenses, a patchwork of retrofitted satellites, ground-based railguns, and Prototype Alpha undergoing emergency repairs. General Malik, leaning over a holographic display, gestured toward the advancing enemy. "They're regrouping," he said grimly. "We bought some time, but they'll hit us with everything they have. And this time, we won't have the element of surprise." Dr. Reyes, sitting nearby, stared at the blueprint of Prototype Alpha. Her fingers tapped anxiously on the table. "There's something we haven't used yet." Malik turned to her, his brows furrowed. "What do you mean?" She hesitated. "The core. Prototype Alpha's reactor isn't just an energy source. It's a gravitational manipulator. We designed it to bend space-time, but we've never tested it at full capacity." Malik's face darkened. "And what happens if we do?" Reyes exhaled sharply. "Best case, we create a localized gravitational anomaly strong enough to crush their fleet. Worst case, we tear a hole in reality that might swallow Earth." The room fell silent. Meanwhile, Prototype Alpha was in disarray. Inside the ship's control bay, engineers worked around the clock, repairing damaged systems and reinforcing its already strained hull. Athena, the ship's AI, coordinated the efforts with clinical efficiency. Structural integrity restored to 78%, Athena reported. Primary weapon systems operational. Gravitational core remains unstable. The chief engineer, wiping sweat from his brow, muttered under his breath, "Unstable is putting it lightly. This thing's a ticking time bomb." As the Vanguard fleet moved closer, the Empire's supreme strategist received updates from her fleet commanders. She stood on the bridge of a secondary dreadnought, her pale features illuminated by the tactical display. "Earth's weapon is formidable," one commander reported, "but they're on the defensive now. We estimate total planetary subjugation within 12 hours. The strategist's lips curled into a faint smile. "They will crumble. Primitive ingenuity cannot withstand imperial resolve." Back on Earth, Dr. Reyes made her case in the command center. "If we don't use the core, Earth is doomed. It's our only chance to level the playing field." General Malik clenched his fists. "You're asking us to gamble the survival of the planet on untested technology. If it fails." "It won't," Reyes interrupted. "Athena's calculations are precise. The core's potential is the reason we built Prototype Alpha in the first place. It's time to stop holding back." Malik stared at the hologram of the advancing fleet. The odds were impossible, the stakes unbearable. But deep down, he knew Reyes was right. This was their only shot. "Do it," he said finally. "Prepare the core." As the Empire's fleet entered Earth's orbit, their ships formed an impenetrable wall of destruction. Energy weapons charge, ready to bombard the planet into submission. The Terminus Rex, despite its damage, hovered at the center, its massive cannons aimed directly at Earth's surface. On board Prototype Alpha, Athena initiated the activation sequence for the gravitational core. The ship's interior trembled as the reactor surged to life, its energy output climbing rapidly. "Core power at 60%, Athena announced. "Warning, stability threshold approaching." Dr. Reyes, monitoring the process from the command center, gripped the edge of her console. "We need 90% to generate the anomaly. Push it further." Inside the prototype, the gravitational core began to hum, a low, resonant vibration that seemed to distort the very air around it. Space outside the ship rippled faintly, a precursor to the power about to be unleashed. The Empire noticed the activity immediately. Unknown energy surge detected from Earth's weapon. An officer reported to the Supreme Strategist. "It's off the charts." The strategist narrowed her eyes. "Focus all firepower on that ship. Destroy it before they activate whatever that is." Imperial ships redirected their weapons toward Prototype Alpha, unleashing a storm of plasma and energy beams. The prototype's newly repaired shields flickered under the assault, barely holding together. "Athena," Malik's voice crackled through the comms. "Can the ship take this?" "Shield integrity at 42% and dropping," Athena replied calmly. "Core power at 85%. Engaging emergency countermeasures." Prototype Alpha deployed its EMP disruptor, creating a brief window of chaos as nearby Imperial ships lost power. Taking advantage of the distraction, the prototype ascended into orbit, positioning itself directly above the Terminus Rex. "Core power at 95%, Athena announced. "Gravitational anomaly generation imminent." Dr. Rice's voice came through the ship's speakers. "Athena, you're clear to fire. Just make sure Earth survives." The ship's core reached its peak, and with a blinding pulse of energy, it unleashed a localized gravitational anomaly. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. A massive rift tore through space, dragging Imperial ships into its swirling vortex. The Terminus Rex, caught at the edge of the anomaly, struggled to escape, its engines roaring at full power. On Earth, the command center erupted in cheers as the anomaly consumed a significant portion of the Vanguard fleet. But the celebration was short-lived. The gravitational rift began to grow unstable, its edges creeping closer to Earth's atmosphere. "Reyes," Malik shouted. "Shut it down before it pulls us in." Dr. Reyes frantically typed commands into her console. "Athena, we need to collapse the rift. Redirect the energy back into the core." "Redirecting energy," Athena confirmed. The prototype's core flared brightly, and with a final surge, the rift collapsed, leaving only silence in its wake. When the dust settled, the Empire's fleet was decimated. Only a handful of ships, including the crippled Terminus Rex, remained. Prototype Alpha, battered and barely functional, limped back toward Earth. In the command center, Dr. Rice slumped in her chair, exhaustion etched into her face. "We did it," she said softly. "But they'll be back. And next time, we might not be so lucky." Malik placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we'll be ready. They underestimated us once. They won't make that mistake again." Above them, in the void of space, Earth's first victory against the Galactic Empire marked the beginning of a new chapter. Humanity had proven they could fight. Now, they had to prove they could survive. Turning the tide. The wreckage of the Galactic Empire's vanguard fleet floated silently above Earth, a grim reminder of the desperate battle that had just unfolded. The Terminus Rex, still limping from the gravitational anomaly's onslaught, retreated with its few surviving escorts. But Earth knew the Empire's withdrawal was not a sign of surrender. It was preparation for something far worse. In the underground command center, the atmosphere was a mixture of relief and foreboding. Earth had survived the first wave, but at a cost. Prototype Alpha was severely damaged, and the gravitational core, their most powerful weapon, was on the brink of meltdown. Dr. Rice and her team worked tirelessly to stabilize the ship's systems, while General Malik planned Earth's next move. "We can't just wait for them to come back," Malik declared, slamming a fist on the table. "The Empire now knows what we're capable of, but they also know we're vulnerable. We need to take the fight to them." Dr. Rice looked up from her console, exhaustion etched into her face. "You're suggesting we strike first. With what? Prototype Alpha can barely hold itself together, and Earth's defenses are spread thin." Malik's gaze was steely. "We don't need to win the next fight. We just need to make the Empire think twice about coming back." Meanwhile, far from Earth, the Supreme Strategist stood aboard the Imperial Command Station, overseeing the recovery of the surviving fleet. Her pale, luminescent skin glowed faintly under the station's cold, artificial light. "Earth has proven resourceful," she admitted to the gathered council. "But they are still primitive. Their technology is dangerous, yes, but it is also flawed. We will exploit their weaknesses and end this rebellion before it inspires others." The council murmured in agreement, but one voice cut through the din. It was the Inquisitor, their reflective helmet gleaming under the chamber's lights. "Earth's strength lies in its unpredictability," the Inquisitor said. "They are not like the other civilizations we've crushed. They thrive under pressure. If we underestimate them again, it will be our undoing." The strategist narrowed her eyes. "What do you propose?" "Divide and conquer," the Inquisitor replied. "Their weapon relies on power they barely understand. We exploit that, force them to overextend, and they will collapse under the weight of their own desperation." The strategist nodded slowly. "Very well. Begin the operation." Back on Earth, Prototype Alpha was undergoing emergency upgrades. Athena, the ship's AI, monitored the repairs and adjustments with precision. The ship's hull was reinforced, and a second-layer shielding system was installed. But the most critical upgrade was the gravitational core, now stabilized, but with a risky enhancement: the ability to create miniature gravity wells that could be deployed tactically in battle. Dr. Rice supervised the final calibration. "This is a gamble," she said, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "If the core destabilizes again, it could destroy the ship and everything around it." Athena responded calmly. Probability of catastrophic failure has been reduced to 21% under current parameters. Acceptable risk for mission success. Reyes sighed. You and I have very different definitions of acceptable. As Earth braced for the Empire's inevitable return, a surprising signal was detected. It was a distress beacon, originating from a nearby sector of the galaxy. The signal carried a faint but unmistakable plea for help. A small colony, oppressed by the Empire, was calling for aid. The signal sparked a fierce debate in the command center. We can't afford to divert resources, one officer argued. We're barely holding on as it is. But if we ignore them, we send a message that Earth is no better than the Empire, Malik countered. We need allies, and this could be our chance to inspire others to stand with us. Rey shook her head. Inspiring others won't mean much if Earth is annihilated. Despite the risks, Malik made the call. We send Prototype Alpha. If we can liberate the colony, it might buy us more than time. It might buy us hope. Prototype Alpha, newly repaired and outfitted, launched once more into the void. Athena plotted a course to the colony, her calculations accounting for potential Imperial traps. The crew on board remained tense, knowing the mission was as much a test of Earth's resilience as it was a rescue operation. When the ship arrived at the colony, it found exactly what Malik had feared: an Imperial blockade. 3 heavy cruisers and a squadron of fighters surrounded the planet, their weapons trained on the settlement below. Athena assessed the situation. Enemy strength exceeds current combat capacity. Recommended strategy: disrupt blockade and provide escape route for colony. The prototype's new capabilities were put to the test. Deploying its miniature gravity wells, the ship created localized distortions that threw the enemy fleet into chaos. Fighters were dragged off course, and one of the cruisers collided with its own escorts, erupting into flames. The colony's inhabitants, witnessing the sudden shift, rallied to evacuate. Using old freighters and transport ships, they followed the prototype through the chaos, their ships protected by the gravity wells. On board one of the cruisers, an Imperial commander barked orders, trying to restore order to the fleet. Find that ship and destroy it. But Prototype Alpha's upgrades made it a ghost. Cloaking itself in its advanced stealth field, it darted between enemy ships, disabling key systems with pinpoint plasma strikes. The remaining cruisers, disoriented and damaged, fell back. As the last freighter escaped the blockade, Athena transmitted a message to the colony. Earth extends its hand in solidarity. Together, we stand against tyranny. The rescue was a success, but it came at a cost. Prototype Alpha sustained critical damage during the escape, its systems barely holding together as it returned to Earth. The colony's leaders, now safe, pledged their allegiance to Earth's cause, vowing to spread the message of resistance to other oppressed worlds. In the command center, Malik reviewed the mission report. We've won a small victory, he said. But the Empire won't stop. They'll come back stronger. Dr. Reyes nodded. Then we keep pushing forward. Every victory, no matter how small, brings us closer to turning the tide. Above them, the stars seemed a little brighter. Humanity was no longer fighting alone. The galaxy was beginning to notice, and the Empire's grip on power was starting to slip. Earth's final stand. The Galactic Empire's patience had reached its breaking point. The loss of the Vanguard fleet, the failed infiltration of Earth, and the growing resistance movement inspired by Earth's defiance had painted a target on humanity. The Empire's final response was as terrifying as it was inevitable: the Omnicide Initiative. The Supreme Strategist stood aboard the newly mobilized Judicator Prime, the Empire's most devastating weapon. Part ship, part planetary dreadnought, it housed a stellar obliterator, a weapon capable of triggering chain reactions in a planet's core, effectively erasing entire worlds. Earth will be an example, she declared to the gathered fleet commanders. Their courage will be crushed. Their defiance will be extinguished. And the galaxy will learn that the Empire does not forgive rebellion. The Judicator Prime, flanked by an armada of over 100 Imperial warships, began its march toward Earth. On Earth, the command center was a hive of frantic activity. Every radar and satellite detected the incoming fleet, and the sheer size of the armada sent shivers through the most hardened soldiers. General Malik stood at the center, his voice commanding yet grim. "This is it. We either make our stand here, or we cease to exist." Dr. Rice, standing beside him, was pale but resolute. "The gravitational core has been repaired, and Athena has integrated the upgrades. But even with the prototype, we're outnumbered 100 to 1. "We don't need to win," Malik replied. "We just need to survive." Prototype Alpha was prepared for its most critical mission yet. Engineers had worked day and night to reinforce the ship's systems, and the AI, Athena, had been upgraded to handle split-second tactical decisions during combat. But even with these enhancements, the odds were grim. Athena's calm voice filled the command center. Probability of survival, 14%. Mission parameters remain unchanged. Protect Earth at all costs. The silence in the room was heavy. Finally, Malik broke it. "Athena, send this message to the people of Earth. This is our moment. This is our fight. Stand tall and show them that humanity will not go quietly." The battle began as the Empire's fleet entered Earth's orbit. The Judicator Prime loomed in the distance, its stellar obliterator charging with an eerie glow. Imperial warships deployed wave after wave of fighters, their weapons lighting up the void. Prototype Alpha emerged from the shadow of the moon, its upgraded cloaking field rendering it nearly invisible. Earth's patchwork fleet of retrofitted satellites, drones, and railgun-equipped ships followed closely behind. It was a desperate force, outmatched in every way, but their resolve was unshakable. The first clash was brutal. Earth's drones swarmed the Empire's fighters, creating chaos and confusion, while Prototype Alpha targeted key enemy cruisers with precision strikes. The gravitational core's new ability to create localized singularities proved devastating, dragging enemy ships into swirling voids of destruction. But the Empire's fleet was relentless. Earth's defenses were picked apart, one by one. Satellites exploded in fiery bursts, and railgun ships were obliterated under concentrated fire. Inside the command center, Malik barked orders. "Redirect all ground-based cannons to cover Prototype Alpha. If that ship falls, we fall." As the Judicator Prime approached, its stellar obliterator reached full charge. The Supreme Strategist's voice boomed across all frequencies. "Earth, your resistance ends now." A massive beam of energy erupted from the Judicator Prime, aimed directly at Earth's surface. But before it could reach its target, Prototype Alpha darted into its path, deploying its final trick, the Singularity Mirror. This experimental device, powered by the gravitational core, created a reflective singularity capable of redirecting the beam. The energy folded back on itself, tearing through several Imperial warships and destabilizing the Judicator Prime shields. The Supreme Strategist clenched her fists, her composure slipping for the first time. "That ship, it's more dangerous than we thought. Destroy it." The Judicator Prime unleashed its full arsenal, targeting Prototype Alpha with everything it had. Athena executed evasive maneuvers with unmatched precision, but the relentless barrage took its toll. The prototype's hull buckled, its shields flickered, and systems began to fail. In the command center, Dr. Rice watched in horror as the ship struggled. "We're losing her," she whispered. But Malik's voice was steady. "Athena, can you reach the Judicator Prime's core?" Athena's response was immediate. Probability of success, 3%. Initiating final approach. Prototype Alpha, battered and burning, surged forward. The remaining Imperial fleet scrambled to intercept, but Earth's forces launched a desperate counterattack, sacrificing themselves to clear a path. Inside Prototype Alpha, Athena made a final calculation. The only way to destroy the Judicator Prime was to overload the gravitational core, creating a singularity large enough to consume the dreadnought. But this would also mean the destruction of the prototype. Athena, Rias's voice came through the comms. "Are you sure about this?" "Affirmative," Athena replied. "Mission parameters: protect Earth at all costs." As the ship reached the Judicator Prime, it activated the core. The singularity burst to life, consuming the dreadnought in a cataclysmic implosion. The stellar obliterator was ripped apart, its energy cascading through the Empire's fleet and leaving only silence in its wake. On Earth, the command center erupted in cheers, but the victory was bittersweet. Prototype Alpha was gone, its sacrifice ensuring humanity's survival. Malik stood silently, his eyes fixed on the screens. "She gave us a chance," he said softly. "Now we make it count." The Empire, crippled and humiliated, retreated from Earth. The supreme strategist, alive but defeated, vowed revenge. But her grip on the galaxy was slipping. Earth's defiance had inspired countless other worlds to rise up, and the tides of rebellion began to sweep across the stars. For humanity, the battle was far from over. But they had proven something the galaxy would never forget. Earth was no longer a backwater planet. It was a symbol of resilience, courage, and the unyielding spirit of a species that refused to bow. And as the stars burned brightly above, humanity prepared for the next chapter of its journey, stronger, united, and unbreakable.